In this episode, let's have a look at the cage that Veribon makes, the armor cage for Atomos Shogun. First of all, full disclosure, Veribon sent me this cage for evaluation. I did not pay for it, and they do not pay me beyond providing this, so just wanted to be fully transparent there so that you understand where I'm coming from. The agreement is, though, I retain the right to share my opinion on this, and so let's jump in and take a closer look. Now, first of all, the Shogun is a product and a piece of gear that I love. I use it all the time, but there are a couple of things that make me a little bit nervous about it. The main thing is that the main body is plastic. It's not the highest grade plastic, and the screen, of course, is glass. So this is a very expensive accident waiting to happen. And so I was interested in cages for it, for protection, and also to make it a little bit easier to work with in terms of a variety of different features we'll cover here in just a second. Now, for those of you that have followed the channel for a while, you know that I've used other Veribon gear. I love their cages for cameras. For the GH4, they have several for the Sony cameras, even for Canon cameras. Really nice place that they've kind of made a niche for themselves in the market is sort of in the middle, where they're still reasonably affordable in terms of the pricing for the different pieces of gear, but they're also very, very high quality. So I think they can completely be used for professional use. They can also be used for enthusiasts. So they really kind of fit in that middle market in a very nice way. So this is no exception here. First of all, the cage is very nice build quality, obviously aluminum, just like all of their other cages. And in this particular case, it's actually 4 pieces. So there's a bottom, a top, 2 sides, and then they're all attached with these screws that you can see here. So very, very rigid, even though it is 4 separate pieces, incredibly rigid, and I don't foresee any issues there. Now, in terms of attaching the cage itself to other things, there are a series of 1/4-20 and 3/8 inch mounts, taps on the bottom and on the top. See that on the top as well here. So lots of mounting points there, and then on the sides, of course, dedicated to cutouts for the various connector points on the Shogun itself. There are also these vents up on top, because the Shogun, of course, has these vents on the back to keep cool. I have never had a problem in the month that I've been using this now with the cage actually creating, retaining too much heat and the Shogun overheating. And that's been on several shoots that have been over an hour. So it doesn't seem like it affects the thermal properties or thermal performance of the Shogun in any way. One kind of very nice and fairly obvious feature is the screws that retain the HDMI cable here. So here, for example, on the input, and they have the screws for the output as well, but they just pinch there's a screw on either side of the cage, and it just pinches the connector and holds it firmly in place. You can see that there. There's no way that's coming out. So nice little feature there. You'll also notice there's this mini cage off to the side here for where the audio LEMO cable plugs in and the AC to DC adapter plug in. So this is nice too, because it takes some of that strain off. It is not, it actually stays out of the way pretty nicely here. So if I bring this up here, connect the LEMO cable, you can see there, it actually it doesn't actually take the strain off. That's one of the things that I didn't like about the LEMO cable setup on the Shogun, actually, if we're very being honest here. You would stick the LEMO cable in, and then you'd have all this weight hanging off unless you stabilized it somewhere. So is that kind of up to you to find a way to stabilize that and keep it from putting too much weight on this LEMO connector here on the side. And again, because it's a plastic case, I don't know what's inside, if it's a metal frame inside, but it seemed like a lot of strain to be placing on that. This doesn't necessarily relieve that, but what it does do is it provides a little bit of protection. So if someone comes by, I think this will prevent it from moving too far and completely damaging the Shogun itself. So that's nice. And the same thing with the power cable here. The L brackets are nice. And again, these are an optional add-on, depending on which kit you buy for the cage. But I got it with 2, and that provides a lot of nice protection again for the memory and for the battery. And I just mount them on the top here. For transport, you can collapse them. It's just a matter of removing it. And again, they use what I call coin screws. So just any sort of coin can loosen that and remove it from the cage. And then there's this thumb screw here that allows you to collapse the L bracket, which makes it a little bit easier to transport the whole thing. A couple of other features that are nice. The cage actually has this design with these tabs on the front, so you place the Shogun in it and it fits just perfectly so that it's up against these tabs, which keep it from twisting within the cage. And in addition to that, on the back of these tabs, there are little rubber strips that help dampen any sort of shock if it were to fall. So, and also to keep it from scratching the glass. So again, very thoughtful design on Veravon's part. On the back side, there is also this little tab here that helps to retain the memory card or the SSD when you put it in. So when I put it in here, it pops back up automatically once that's in place. So it helps you to know it's in place, first of all, but also keeps it from pulling out accidentally, and then just pull that back and you get it out again. In terms of mounting it to a cage, and again, I usually mount this on top of my Veravon Armor cage, the Armor 2 actually, we reviewed a couple weeks back. I'm just using this Manfrotto 492 LCD, which is a cold shoe mount. This is actually, I've had several of these over the years. This is the best one I've found in terms of sturdiness and quality of build. I've used some of those $10 or $15 ones, and those have fallen right off. So those are pretty dangerous to mount your $2,000 piece of kit on top of a cage or anything else. So something to consider. I would probably make the investment for something like this. This one's obviously more expensive. I think this one around about $50 US. So it's definitely more of an investment, but I think this is something that's going to last my entire video protection career. So I'm not too worried about that investment. Of course, you also could use a friction arm or magic arm, whatever you prefer to call these. They go by lots of different names, but this one's a friction arm. Veravon makes some of these. This particular one is a camera that I had previously, and I actually use this still to this day with my Atomos Ninja 2. You attach this to the recorder, other end to the cage or camera somewhere. You can position it pretty much any way you want. And what's kind of magic about it is you tighten this up and all of the joints suddenly become rock solid. Kind of a cool thing. So that's another option for mounting this. Overall, what do I think of the Veravon Armor Shogun cage? I really like it. It is, I think, again, really fits in that nice category in the mid-range. It's not a super cheap end like the Chinese-made junk that you often can find at bargain basement prices. You're going to pay a little bit more for this, but this is a solid piece of gear that I think will protect the Shogun, and has for me very well. I'm not worried about it falling anymore. Again, before I got this and I was just operating with the Shogun mounted on top of my cage, I knew that if that thing fell, there was a very good chance that the whole thing was going to be destroyed. Now, I don't really worry about it, and I know that if it falls, pretty good assurance that nothing is going to happen. So, in terms of weight, yeah, there's definitely some heft to it. But I don't find that a problem. Again, I'm mainly when I'm using the Shogun, I'm usually on sticks, on tripod, so that's not an issue. And if I am doing it handheld, there is a case, I think, for when you have a handheld rig that you're operating with. It's actually kind of nice to have a little bit more heft because it actually helps smooth out the shots some. So I know a lot of people like to go really light to be great, for running gun shooting. But again, I think there is a case for adding just a little bit of heft that helps kind of make things a little bit more solid. So if you have any questions about the cage here, go ahead and leave those down below. Thanks for checking out this episode. And if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do that. And we'll be sure to get you more great videos on how to improve your lighting and sound for video. Talk to you soon.